So based on what we just discussed in the last video, I'm going to put options in here for these notes that I'm going to have to harmonize now. So we remember on the fifth scale degree, so here's my do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth scale degree here, I can harmonize that with a 5 or a 1. Those are my two options for a fifth scale degree. On the fourth scale degree, that could be a, let me get rid of some of this stuff. So 5 or 1 here. Fourth scale degree, that could be a 4, a 2, 7, or a 5, 7. And then on my third scale degree, that's going to be a 1 or possibly a 6. So now looking at these options, I need to choose what's the best path to give me smooth voice leading. Okay, so coming from a 4, I need to consider that, what I'm coming from. Coming from a 4, I probably want to go to a 5, not a 1. Okay, unless I make that a 1-6-4, because this is a cadential, that could be a cadential 6-4 in this case where I'm going from maybe 5 to 1 here. Okay, so best option here for the cadence, and actually I should probably start there on the cadence, is going to be 5-7 to 1, or possibly that 7 to 1, but make some sort of authentic cadence here. Okay, now I couldn't go from a 5 to a 7, that's actually not allowed, but I can do a 5 to a 5-7. So that's the option I'm going to choose here, is this 5 to 5-7 to 1. Now I could possibly do something different there. I could make this a 1-6-4, 5-7-1. I could make it a, yeah, that's pretty close to to my options right there. So I'm going to choose a 5 to 5-7 to 1. Now let's follow that same process for the last phrase. You'll remember that the fermata shows the end of the phrase, so starting on this C here until this fermata is the last phrase. So let's get all of our options in here, starting with the first scale degree. So if you remember from our scale, we found out the first scale degree could be harmonized by a 1, a 4, or a 6. 1, 6, or 4 in that order. The second scale degree could be harmonized by a 2, 7, or 5. The third scale degree could be a 1 or a 6. This fourth scale degree here would be 4 options there. We could have a 4, a 2, 7, or the 5-7. And the same thing here on this fourth scale, 1, 2, 7, 5-7. Now we can only use that 5-7 if the soprano note is going down to the next chord. Okay, I wouldn't even use it here on this one because it does go down, but this I'm going to treat as a non-chord tone. I'm going to treat that as a passing tone. So since it doesn't resolve to the correct note, I'm not going to use this one as a 5-7. So either a 4 or 2 or 7 there. And then we've got this other note over here, which is the 7th scale degree. It could be harmonized by a 7 or a 5. So with those options in front of us, we can choose our path, our chord progression that will follow the chart. I like to start with the cadence. So what I'm seeing here in the possibilities I have is probably an authentic cadence. could be authentic or deceptive. I'm going to choose authentic. So I'll go from a 5 to a 1. Could have gone 7 to 1 also, that's fine. I'd like 5 to 1. And then before that 5, really any of these chords, any of these 3 chords could possibly lead to a 5 chord. So maybe I'll wait on that one and kind of see what we're dealing with before that. I've got a 2, 7, or 5. So probably my best bet is I'm going from, now if I'm just looking at this from a chord progression chart perspective, I'd probably say, well, I could go from a 5 to a 1 to 5 to 1. And that one would work out pretty well. But if I remember that 164 that functions like a 5 chord, then I want to approach that from a 2-6. Then that actually becomes a really nice option for me at this point to do a 2-6, 1-6-4, cadential 5-1. And I really like that. Can I get to a 2 from one of these chords? Yeah, 4 can go to a 2. So how can I get to a 4? Well, 1 can go to anything, so I could use a 1. 6 could go to a 4. I want to avoid using the same chord twice in a row, unless it's like 5 going to 5-7. That's okay, that's good, that's a different chord. But I kind of want to avoid going 4, 4, or even 1, 1. So I'm going to choose this path because I don't want to have a 1 going to a 1 or a 4 going to a 4. I'm going to choose a 1 going to a 6 going to a 4. And that follows my chord progression chart really nicely. What can go to a 1? Well, either this 7 or the 5-7. Since this chord here is probably going to be a 5, I'm going to make a 5-7, but I wouldn't worry too much about coming from one phrase into the other phrase because they don't actually grade you on that. So there's my chord progression that I decided to follow for my final phrase based on the options that I had and my knowledge of the chord progression chart.